Now I request Professor Debroy to pay his tributes. Professor Debroy is a professor at Pennsylvania State University. So, Professor Debroy, could you please tell us your journey?
Thank you very much. I am so grateful for this invitation because it means so much to me. I am a former student of Professor K.P. Abraham, and what a privilege it has been to be mentored by him. Apart from his scientific acumen, I am particularly moved by the great person he was. He always was supportive of everyone that worked with him without expecting anything in return. Dr. Subramanian, Dr. Suvash, thank you very much for this extraordinary privilege. And I recognize that Mrs. Abraham is in the audience. My greetings and my pranam to you, Mrs. Abraham, because I have spent so much time in your home and you have been so kind to me and my family. So thank you so very much. I want to spend my precious 8 minutes telling you about two of my memories. I do not want to get into the scientific accomplishments of Professor Abraham because you have heard about that. He was a giant in his field, and I leave it at that. So I want to tell you about two stories, and I want to talk a little bit about his legacy. First one is about a very scary explosion. But before I talk about the explosion, I want to share with you a picture on the top right-hand corner of this screen where you can see me wearing a shawl that was presented to me by Professor Abraham in December of 2010 when I went to his home with my 2 kids and wife. So I want to come back to this story. So one evening, an undergraduate student opened a bottle of ammonia that was left in our sunny lab. After the opening of the bottle, of course, ammonia came out as a jet and his eyes were affected. And this was a very unusual accident. Fortunately, the student survived and his eyes healed with time. But when the news reached Professor Abraham the next day, he asked me to accompany him to the dorm room. He wanted to see firsthand how the student was doing. He was not interested to know what went wrong. It was his concern for the student that took him there. He just wanted to know if he could help in any way. There were many occasions when we did not measure up. We fell short of what was expected of us. And we knew that there is someone exceptionally important who is still rooting for us. And he expected that we could do better. He believed that we could do better. And our well-being was the primary concern of Professor Abraham. A second story, this is a story of a vanishing platinum crucible. A student borrowed the valuable platinum crucible to do experiments with ceramic melts. And the student wanted to clean the platinum crucible before returning it back to Professor Abraham. He does the usual things for cleaning and goes to his class. He comes back and finds that the platinum crucible just vanished without a trace. And we had absolutely no clue, and we were no Sherlock Holmes. So Professor Abraham came during his regular afternoon laboratory visit, talked with the student. He asked just a few questions, and he knew what had happened. The student tried to clean the crucible in aqua regia, and in the process simply dissolved the platinum crucible in the aqua regia And when he didn't see the crucible in the solution, he just drained the aqua regia in the drain. So it was all gone. Professor Abraham explained what had happened calmly and did not want the student to feel bad. He taught us by example, and he loved us when we did dumb things. And I have done dumb things, my fair share of it. And he taught us that science and technology and the equations and charts and papers are to help people. And his faith in us always uplifted us and demanded more from us from within. And he set an example that stays with me forever. We are talking about legacy. So I want to share with you Professor Abraham's legacy. Some of his academic grandchildren that he did not have an opportunity to meet. There are numerous of them at Penn State, over between 50 and 60 people who did their PhD or postdoc or worked with me as a visiting scientist. I want to take you to my first PhD student, Professor Uday Pal, who after graduation went to work as John Chipman Assistant Professor at MIT. And one of his students was Sridhar Sitaraman, who is the son of Dr. Sheshadri Sitaraman, whom you heard. So Sridhar Sitaraman is kind of great-grandson of Professor K.P. Abraham in academic sense. Dr. Thomas Zachariah is director of Oak Ridge National Laboratory. I want to show you someone whom some of you may know. This is Dr. Kanishka Tankala, the topper from Indian Institute of Science in early 80s, who founded a company and employs many people. And there are numerous other people. Todd Palmer is professor at my home institute, and many professors and deans. Suresh Babu, I should mention. He is on the science board that oversees National Science Foundation and has a governor's chair at University of Tennessee, wrote about 11 papers as a postdoc with me, and numerous other people. So Professor Abraham's legacy lives on, and it is through the works of numerous people that we may not physically meet, but they are doing their work to help the world. Thank you. Thank you for this extraordinary privilege, and thank you all for listening.